Welcome, my name is Julia Westlake and this is a tutorial for GBS 261 at Mesa Community College. It's Investments 1. This is for the Lesson 2 Assignment 2. And basically what I'm going to do is walk you through the worksheet so that you kind of have an idea of how to make the manipulations in Excel and so that you have some framework for understanding the assignment. The first three things that you're going to need to do are to get out all the materials that you're going to need for this assignment. First thing you're going to want is the Lesson 2 Assignment 2 instructions, which you see I have pulled up on the screen here. The next thing you're going to want to open is the Excel spreadsheet for the assignment, which is the Lesson 2 Assignment 2A worksheet. Then you're also going to want to open your favorite browser to the Yahoo Finance tool so that you have that pulled up and can use it at the appropriate time during the assignment. Okay, so let's go back to our instructions page. You'll notice that the instructions kind of give you a framework of where you should refer to up at the top here, and that they tell you to get out all these materials that I've already discussed. So step 1 involves calculating the return relatives for the BRK-A stock from 1965 to 2010. That's not to current, just to 2010. We're also, very important, we're going to assume that there's no current cash, so no cash flows. And then we're also going to assume the initial investment was made in 1965 and calculate for wherever you are in the spreadsheet in terms of the year you are. So here's some things that we need to remember about this assignment. It's not that you would normally do this for every single stock that you want to evaluate. We're trying to see how stock relative returns change over time. And so that we can see the pattern of change and how stocks change and dip and rise in terms of return as an investor. This is an exercise for our class, not something that you would necessarily go out and use in the real world and do exactly how we're doing in the assignment. Granted, you would use this tool if you were trying to evaluate whether or not you should purchase or sell stocks or other investments that you hold. So remember, the way that we're doing it in the assignment is more for our purposes in class. The way you would do it in the real world is just to apply the actual formula as described in the textbook. So another reason that we are repeatedly doing the same type of calculation is to get the experience that you need. Sure, I could have had 20 different stocks and had you look at their return relatives and calculate them. That would give you the ability to do the calculation. However, I want you to actually do the calculation, but then to actually be able to critically think and see how those returns change based on what year you bought and when you sell the item, so that you get a feel as an investor how it would actually work out and what maybe are some things that you want to look for in terms of numbers and how you calculate them. So that's what we're going to be doing in step 1. Step 2, we're going to do the arithmetic mean. Step 3, the geometric mean. The cumulative wealth in step 4. Step 5 and 6, we're going to look up some Yahoo Finance stuff. So let's get started in on the worksheet. We're going to pull it up here. And you'll notice that in column C, row 11 is where we're going to have our first answer. Now when you're reading in the book, there are 3 things that you need to consider when doing the return relative calculation. You need to assume the ending price, the cash flows, and the beginning price. Well, if you can recall from your last algebra class, when something is 0, it kind of cancels itself out of the equation. And since we're setting all the cash flows to 0 in this scenario, then we can eliminate it out of the equation. It's not a consideration when you're subtracting it or adding it to something in the equation. So we're not even going to consider it. Here's another good point. When you are looking at stocks that do not have cash flow, the return relatives, you're going to eliminate that part of the equation. So then it becomes a simple division problem. And if you look at the equation, you'll notice it's price ending over price beginning once you eliminate the cash flow part of it. So if we're assuming we made the initial investment in 1965 and sold it in 1965, then the 1965 ending price would be both our beginning and our ending price. So we would set equal, then B11, B11, enter. Now if we purchased in 1965 and sold in 1966, we would do equal 1966's amount divided by the 1965 amount. Press enter. Now, many people will get the idea that, oh, I'm just going to drag and drop and pull this down. However, it doesn't work like that. You cannot divide every single cell by itself. That's not what we're calculating. So make sure that when you're doing this, that you're making sure the actual formula is inputted the way that it needs to be inputted according to how it's calculated. So you're assuming that the initial investment was in 1965 and that the current year is the sale price. So price ending over price beginning. And we'll just do a couple of those so that you get a feel for them. And make sure you check your math. But that's what it looks like. You guys can do the rest. Make sure that you program the formulas into Excel so that you get a feel for it. Then we're going to come on down to the arithmetic mean of relative returns. Now the arithmetic mean is just the average. So you can come up here to your handy dandy toolbar if you're using 2007 and up in Microsoft Excel. It'll look like this. If not, you go to your tools bar and you can pull it down. Okay, so one of the quick menu items is the average. That's the arithmetic mean. You're just going to select the cells all the way up to the top there, press enter. And obviously my answer is going to be different than yours, quite frankly, because you guessed it, I have not done all the math. Don't know why this isn't working. The next part of the assignment involves calculating the arithmetic mean of relative returns. As you know from your reading in the class lecture, the arithmetic mean is just the average of the relative returns. So you'll stick your mouse in the box there, and then you will go up to the formulas bar, which you'll notice in 2007 Word and beyond. It is at the top here under formulas. You'll select the quick average key, place your mouse there, drag it all the way up to the top, select the top relative return, and there you go. You'll notice that my number is not going to be anywhere near what your number is going to be in your worksheet because I have not calculated all the relative returns. That's for you to do. Okay, the geometric mean, you'll notice also from reading the textbook you can manually type in the formula, or you can come up to the formulas bar here and go to more functions. And then if you're like me, you've used the geomean recently, or you can go under all or financial and it'll come up. But I'm just going to use it for my quick menu, so the geometric mean is right there. And then I'm going to take and select all the numbers there, press enter, it'll calculate. Again, mine is going to be very different than the number that you're going to get because I have not calculated all the relative returns. That's the part of the assignment for you to do. The cumulative wealth index, you'll notice that's covered in our lecture materials, and that's when you take the relative returns and you multiply them by each other and then by 1. So I'm just going to do a couple of them here and you're going to get the gist from it. So we're going to do our equal sign because there's not a formula for this. And then you're going to select the first box and then the multiplication key, which is the little asterisk on your keypad. In the next box, asterisk, you'll notice at the top of the screen up here, there in the formula bar, you'll see C11 times C12, and we're going to select C13 times C14, and times 1. You're going to select all the boxes and then multiply them against each other, but we've only done calculations for 4, so that's all I'm going to do. And then times 1, press enter, and that's my cumulative wealth index. Yours is probably going to span the page and you're going to have to expand the number. It might even give you that the number's too large. That's perfectly normal. Okay, then the next part involves going to Yahoo Finance, the stock screener, and looking up the previous closed sale price for the Berkshire Hathaway stock, the preferred stock. So here we are in Yahoo Finance. There's this little quick bar. You could also go to investing and go to the stock screener. You'll notice that it's on there. However, under stocks, we're just going to use the little quick bar here, if the internet will cooperate with us. Okay, well, we're in the stock screener now. We're going to go ahead and click in the search box here, and we're going to type in BRK-A for the Berkshire Hathaway preferred stock. We're going to click Get Quotes. Now you'll notice this is Warren Buffett's company that we're looking at least at the time of recording it's Warren Buffett's company. So the stock for this on the previous close is a fairly substantial amount of money that people are investing. So what you can do is you can actually copy this, highlight it with your mouse, and Control C. Go ahead and go back and open up your Excel document. Double click inside there until you get the little cursor blinking, and then paste it. And that's the amount of money that it costs to buy one share of Berkshire Hathaway preferred stock as of the market close yesterday when I recorded this. You're completing this assignment on a different day probably than I'm recording, so your number's likely to be different. It might be substantially higher, lower, it might just be off by a couple of cents, but you need to look up the number for yourself. Okay. The next thing it's saying is go to Yahoo Finance's stock screener and look up the day's market opening price. Okay, so we're back on the Berkshire Hathaway page for Yahoo Finance, and you see the open. So the market does fluctuate. You'll notice that it went up about $4 and some change there. So we're going to go ahead and copy that. Go back into our Excel document. Again, double click until you get the flashing cursor. And go ahead and paste and then click out, and you'll notice it's there for you. That's this first part of the assignment. If you have questions about that, go ahead and ask. Again, for this first part of the assignment, we were looking at the Berkshire Hathaway preferred stock. That's what the A stands for, is the preferred stock. And that's Warren Buffett's company. It's a really good company to follow if you want to know how an average person kind of took over the marketplace with business savvy. And you can read his textbooks and his personal books that he's written. You can see how he got his stock to grow from a meager $16.25 to, as you see it, when I recorded this, it's $118,600 per share. That's a substantial increase. So you'll want to know how he does that if you're interested in making investments. Okay, so we're over here in the CocaCola. This might be something more along the lines of what you might have today. If you're living on a student salary to invest in, and that's perfectly fine. This might also become part of your simulator portfolios after you evaluate it, or you may choose not to add it. Okay, so the common stock is what we're evaluating here. So in the first exercise, we're looking at preferred stock, which is a much higher quality stock, and then now in the common stock is what we're going to look at for Coca-Cola. So it's a little bit different of a game in terms of the numbers that we would expect to see. But it's still, you know, affordable. As you can see in 2010, it was ending at $65.77. That's an affordable investment for most people. Not for everyone, but for most people. Okay, so we're going to calculate the relative return price change only. So you'll notice that I actually did give you dividends here, and then you have the ending price. So it's going to be based a little bit on your ability to put in the right amounts. So I only want price change. So the price change is just what we did over here in the first exercise. The next one is total return based on price change. And then we have return relative for total return. That's when we're going to consider the dividends. And then we have total return based on price change and dividends. So a little bit different things here that are going on. So the first column, we're just doing exactly what we did over here in the Berkshire Hathaway. So again, price ending over price beginning, and we're not doing it for the first one, so we're just doing it for the second one on. So we're just going to calculate one. The total return based on the price change. So that is going to be G12, which this is column G. This is row 12, so G12. A little ahead of myself there. So you're going to put your equal sign here. Select G12, subtract G11. So G11 is right here. And then you're going to divide it by G11. Then you're going to go and apply that same methodology all the way down. So the return relative for total return that's going to be J12. So you're going to select J, that's column J, row 12, here you go, J12 divided by, could stop clicking, I would love to get this right for you guys. Okay, J12 divided by G11. So that's our ending price for when we bought. Press enter. And apply that kind of logic all the way down. And then total return based on price change and dividends. This one's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have to use some parentheses because remember order of operations. So we're going to take G12, which that is our purchase, or our ending price, our sales price, sorry. G12, we're going to subtract that, and then we're going to use some parentheses here. G11, which is our purchase price, plus H12, and H12 is our dividends we were paid. Close the parentheses, and then you're going to divide that by the purchase price. Okay, so for this formula you have sales price minus, then in parentheses, purchase price plus dividends, close parentheses, divided by purchase price. Makes sense? Press enter and you'll get the number. Okay, so again, this first one right here, you're going to take sale price divided by purchase price. And you'll notice the formula's up here in the formula bar. Second column, you are going to take sale price minus purchase price divided by purchase price. Third column, you're going to take J, which is the total return based on price change. You're going to divide it by the purchase price that you supposedly had. Third column, you're going to see up here where it says G12 in the formula bar. You're going to take the sale price minus, in parentheses, the purchase price, sorry, that should be a plus, the dividends, close parentheses, divided by the purchase price. So there you go, it calculates a little bit different. And make sure you do click on this and check your math to make sure it is correct and that your formula is inputted correctly. Now some of you might get tempted to click on this and go ahead and drag and drop it all the way down. If you do that, you are going to need to check a lot of math because the formula changes because you change what your sale price is. You don't change what your purchase price is. Make sense? Okay. And that's just so you can see how if you would have purchased it in 1989 and then if you would have sold it each year, kind of what your returns would have looked like. And this is more of a historical assignment for you to kind of get a feel for what it is that stocks do historically over time so that you understand and can compare the Berkshire Hathaway preferred stock versus CocaCola, more common stock that you might hold, and see how they trend, how maybe the economy in each of these years was affecting the returns on these items, because they're very different types of items that you can purchase, stock investments. Okay, so the arithmetic mean of relative returns just for price change. Now, that is going to be the arithmetic mean, so the average, of relative returns just for price change. So relative return, price change only. We're going to calculate the arithmetic mean there. So again, go up to your formulas bar, select the average from the quick start. It already should default to selecting the forms you need. There you go. Then you're going to do the geometric mean of relative returns just for price change. Relative returns, price change only, geometric mean. Again, go here to the formula bar, more functions. I've already used the geometric mean, so it's there. Going to click in here, select, press enter, it will calculate. Now my numbers again are going to be very different. I did not calculate all of the ones out for you. I'm just showing you how to do it. The cumulative wealth index for investment made in 1989 and ending in 2010 based on $1 in total returns without dividends. Okay, so just like we calculated over here for Berkshire Hathaway, we're going to multiply all of the relative returns for the price change only because we're not considering dividends. So that means that first column right here. So we would take and put a equal sign, select the first column times the second column times the third column times the fourth column, and so on, and then times 1, you press enter, you get the number. Obviously we don't have anything other than 1 entered here, so it's not going to give us a number. But you'll notice, just keep multiplying all the relative returns by each other and then end by multiplying by 1, and that will give you the number that you need for the cumulative wealth index. Okay, calculate the variance for the total returns with dividends from 1989 to 2010. Now this is where we get into a little bit of statistics, and some people get a little bit scared. You don't need to be scared at all. So when calculating the variance, you should use the VARP formula in Excel. It's a VARP, that's the variance formula. And it's a very specific variance for a population, not a sample. And so that's what you're going to do for this. So we're going to go up to our formula, and we're going to more functions. We're going to go to VARP. It's under the statistical formulas, sorry. Or if you're like me, you have them under your recently used. So VARP, V-A-R-P is the formula I want to use. And okay. So the first number here, it will tell you calculates the variance based on an entire population. That's what you want. Ignores logical values and text in the population. All right. So when you're calculating the variance for the population and you have your VARP open, you have the first number here, and you're doing it based on the total return based on change and dividends in this case. So that's in column L. I'm going to select the first column here, drag it all the way down to the end. That's the numbers that you're going to select, and then you're going to press enter, and you will get the variance for the population. You only have one number in there. You can't calculate the variance for one number. It's a variance is based on multiple numbers, so that's the formula you need. However, that's not the right answer. 0 is not the right answer, but you're going to calculate it out using that formula. Standard deviation also will not calculate for us because we only have one row completed. You actually have to have multiple rows, where I'm going to show you how to do it. So the formula that you're going to use in Excel for the standard deviation is going to be STDEVP, because you're calculating the standard deviation of a population, aka the returns. So again, you're going to go into more functions here, and then you're going to not select standard deviation. There's a couple of them like StanDev. You're going to do STDEVP. Right there, standard deviation based on an entire population given as arguments. So click OK. For the first number there, again, column L, select all the numbers and press OK. Again, it will give you a 0. However, here's the formula up here. Once you have every row calculated, it will actually give you the correct answer. Now, in the reflection, this is the really important part of the assignment. So you're going to actually look at the numbers that you calculated and go back over the text to see what those numbers should indicate to you. You're going to answer the question, how risky of an investment is the Coca-Cola common stock based on